Hey guys, so before I get into this episode, I just wanted to holler at you guys for a moment. Sit down. Listen, sometimes, we don't know what's going on in life. I don't know if there's a right path, if there's a wrong path, if there's a way I should go, if there's that predestiny. I don't know what the fuck's going on here, All I know is that we're all just kind of these fucking meat bags floating in space pretty much, trying to just do what's best for our immediate life. And I feel like every now and then you run across these synchronicities in life, things kind of work out in a certain way that it just kind of feels like God's winking at you, or God's giving you a pat in the shoulder saying, hey, this is the way you should be going right now, and this interview with the legendary Tommy Chong, shout out to Tommy Chong, by the way, OG, if you don't know who the fuck he is, you probably don't smoke pot, and that's not a bad thing, I guess, but it's like sometimes you just get these little check marks, on your way to wherever the fuck you're headed, telling you that, hey, this is the right way to go. And this interview with the legendary Tommy Chong certainly felt like one of those moments, Now keep in mind, guys, please be easy on me. This was my first celebrity interview. Also, we couldn't see him on the screen, so there was a disconnect, and we fucked that up. But I will tell you this, it's certainly not going to be my last celebrity interview, because I do feel, I saw the movie The Secret, and they said if you fucking, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to do right now, so don't fucking hate, okay?
And I watched that movie, The Secret.
And shout out to all the comedians, man, who have been showing me love, man. This is our 12th week, 13th week in a row where we're going to be dropping a podcast, which I don't do anything consistently, bro. I don't go to the gym. I'm not on no diets, My whole life is inconsistent. So the fact that I've been able to do something like this consistently, I can't even speak consistently. The fact that I was able to do something like this for 12 weeks and I can't speak for 12 weeks in a row without being able knowing how to speak, yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable, I mean, it's, for me at least, these little small mountains that seem kind of little to me are like gigantic, and just shout out to all the comics locally, even comics in Orlando who's been showing love, trying to come on the podcast, everyone who's been on the podcast, everyone who's just showing love and support. Only thing I will say though, motherfuckers, hold up, wait 1 minute, I got fucking 30 subscribers on YouTube. Jesus fucking Christ, I can fucking accidentally get 30 subscribers, all right? So I'm just gonna ask you guys kindly to subscribe to the channel, if you are supportive, the YouTube is kind of where we're trying to, the YouTube, it sound like I'm Tommy Chong's age and shit. The YouTube is where we're really trying to grow right now, mostly where I'm focused on. We do have the podcast released and everything else, but either way, guys, look, I'll get to the interview. Hope you guys enjoy it. You guys are fantastic. Love you guys, and make sure to subscribe, please. Love you guys.
Welcome to another episode of Inside Manny, starring Manny Avila. I am James Esterline, Mac James, and our very, very, very special guest, and it's my honor to get to speak to him again. Tommy Chong is with us.
Hey, thank you. Can you see me yet or no?
I just want to say, man, I truly appreciate you taking the time to come out here, man, and just spend some time with us, man. That means so much. And I was just telling him, so we just we're trying to figure out a name for the podcast, and I think we're going with Inside Manny. So I just want to tell you, you have the honor to be the first celebrity to come inside of me. So I appreciate
Manny.
I appreciate that.
Well, that sounded a little bit creepy, didn't it?
Yeah, right. That's where that was going, Manny. Oh man,
Inside Manny. Is there room?
Yeah. This is actually
There's not room for both of us.
This might be a casting couch, Tommy. I'm sorry about that.
You said casting couch.
Yeah.
I said casting pouch.
Oh, I like that. So this is the podcast we put together where we're just trying to, interview comedians, man, local and, anything from open mic comedians to celebrities like yourself. And we're just trying to get.
It's a good grift,
Yeah.
That's smart. That's good. That's good, But it would be nice if you did a few minutes, and asking a comedian to do a few minutes, that could be. Do you have a couple of days?
Oh yeah. Do you have a week you can lend me, or
yeah.
You mind taking?
So that's what comedians, that's our strength and our weak points. Our strength is that people want us to be on their show so we can, kick ass for a few minutes doing some kind of comedy, making everybody laugh, and and then we, as comedians, we get a chance to try out material, which is life. And that's what we try to do all the time, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, to your point, you know, I notice so much comedy happens, especially most comedians are obviously funny people, you know, and there's a lot of just like you said, a lot of material that flourishes just through conversation, you know, like, hanging out outside the comedy clubs and stuff like that. You know, there's so much material that's being brought up, you know, so I think organically you get a lot of comedy just from putting comedians in the room and getting them to talk together, you know?
Well, what I found is that there's like a common consciousness, you know. So it's not when something happens, you know immediately that there's probably a few thousand, if not millions, of comedians thinking the same thing at the same time.
Right.
You know, and so a lot of comedians, they like, or their friends like to brag that they can think up everything on their own, you know, by themselves. But the truth is, you know, we borrow, steal.
Oh yeah.
Right now it's submarines everybody's about.
Take whatever we can get whenever we get it. Because
a lot of comedians
a comedian on stage is like a man drowning, looking for something to hang on to.
Right.
Yeah, grasping for straws, even, you know.
Yeah. You're grasping. So it's an exciting profession.
No, let me actually. I was going to say, because talking about it, you started off. I know, you know, way back with music originally, right? And and you were well, what was the band you were with? It was the Bobby Taylor, right, in the Vancouvers.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. So first off, what made you transition to comedy? Were you always a funny kid growing up, like in your family, or like
nope.
Were you the class clown or anything like that, or?
I was the other guy. I was the quiet guy that hung out with the funny guy.
Oh, I see.
I was the instigator. I was a quiet guy, and I always had a friend that would do stupid things, you know, if you told him to.
And then you'll come out and you'll support the stupid things for the sake of comedy, right?
Well, I kind of write it, you know, tell me, hey, why don't you do this or do that? It started off, I think, back. Well, I guess I was about 11, 12. Yeah, around 10, 11. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the age, you know. Because when you turn 13 in Canada, you could join the Army Cadets.
Oh, really?
And
13?
When
wow.
you join Army Cadets, then you kind of grew up overnight. You know, all of a sudden you're an adult. You got a uniform. You're smoking cigarettes.
Sleeping with prostitutes at 14. You know.
Yeah. Well, at least you're talking to them. You know, you're noticing it.
You're building rapport. You know.
Yeah. So 10, 11. That's a great age for comedy because you're big, but you're not big enough to be the guy. Right. You know, to be the dude, you know, but you're big enough to appreciate it, you know, to appreciate everything. And that's so true. I always hung with another reject. We were both kind of rejects, you know. I was, because of me being mixed race, you know. Just a minute, I gotta answer a call.
Okay, you got it.
Hi, I'm on a podcast right now. He's phoning me to remind me.
Do you remember you had that podcast?
Tell him thank you for all his hard work. I appreciate it.
Was that John?
Yeah. So hanging out with a funny friend, and a lot of it, you know, we were little pissants. I think that's the word for that age.
So how did you make it? What made you want to make that transition? Because you were pretty successful at music. You know, I mean, it seems like you already joined a band. You were signed. You were touring.
Come on.
So what made you? And you're not naturally funny, right? I mean, well, you are, but you weren't naturally. Your inclination wasn't towards comedy. So what switched in you where you're like, you know, I want to try comedy. Let me give this a shot.
I wish my life had been that easy. You know, like, oh, I think I'll try comedy for you know what I mean?
Yeah,
When you're poor as and you're just trying to make it, be it music or whatever, you're just grateful for a job.
Oh shit.
So
I mean, that you talk about like where I grew up. I grew up, back in the 40s, 50s, and when back then, as soon as you got big enough to carry something, you had a job.
Serious.
Yep.
You had a job. Bringing in the wood, taking out the slop bill. Depends on what kind of household you had. We had a outdoor bathroom set, outhouses.
Oh, wow.
Like we literally grew up on a reservation,
Really?
type of life. And so my brother, who was older, 3 years older than me, he took the brunt of everything. He was the guy that had to carry the wood, the whole thing. And,
right.
And I always had a fascination with wood carving for some reason. I still do. I'm a carver. What do you call it?
A carpenter?
Whittler?
Or
a whittler, more whittler. Well, see, back we were so poor. We had a rich kid move next door. No, what I mean by rich kid, he had indoor plumbing. No, we weren't allowed in that house,
right.
Because we were the poor ass native kids. Might as well be honest.
Yeah, they didn't want you dirtying up their plumbing and everything,
Well, no, it was just there was a caste system. England still has it. That's why Harry couldn't attend his father's coronation. Because he was married to.
Really? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that and that's what I grew up. I grew up with that thing. Like I said, I found out later that I'm part native, but I was treated like a native my whole life. And so what I did, it was a thing that I see in the country. You do what you can do.
Right.
If you can, like for instance, I learned how to play a guitar. I had musical abilities. So this fiddle player across the field, he needed a guitar player. So next thing you know, 8 years old, I'm playing for parties.
Oh wow!
It started up our house party. At my dad loved to party, and so we always had parties where the fiddle player would play and I would play guitar, and they would dance all night.
Oh wow!
And like I said, I've told other people, my musical ability came from having to play, not, like kids nowadays, they take piano lessons and company comes over and play that song for grandma, that kind of thing.
Right,
well, with me, it was, come on, Tom, you gotta play a dance for like 3 hours. Yeah. You to work and not getting paid. I never got paid for any of this shit. I got maybe a Coca-Cola.
There you go.
Yeah, but what you were doing, you were practicing your craft. I mean, that's the idea that you were already performing at 8, even in front of people like your family.
Learning. And I was learning the hard way. In other words, we played for dances. We didn't play for applause. And when you play for dances, you're at the mercy of those suckers. And we would play for hours, and that's the way it was until Elvis came on the scene.
Oh yeah.
And when Elvis came on the scene, that's when rock and roll hit. And when rock and roll hit, wow, that's when I started backing up an Elvis impersonator, because everybody became an Elvis impersonator.
Oh yeah.
and so I started playing backup guitar all the time. And then when I was discovered by Motown, by that time I evolved into rhythm and blues, because my brother's football buddy was a black rhythm and blues singer.
Oh.
And so then I got turned on to rhythm and blues, and so we had the first rhythm and blues band. This is right around the Beatles time. We were doing the same thing the Beatles were doing, back there. Only we were doing it in Vancouver,
In
Canada.
Vancouver. And what was the rock scene? Was it like non-existent at that point, or was it like how was it up there in Vancouver? Because you hear a lot
No,
of
in Canada you had country music. You know, that's what ruled the airwaves up there. White guys, country music, and that was it. And like old fashioned Glenn Miller type jazz, you know, Peggy, you know, the hit parade, Ed Sullivan kind of stuff. But no, when we started our rhythm and blues band, we had the first R&B band. We were doing the same thing as the Stones and the Beatles. We were covering all the hot rock and roll, Little Richard. Chuck Berry.
Oh, I see.
Didn't you have
Chuck
the
Berry.
Jackson 5 open for you?
Well, the Jackson 5, we discovered them.
Yeah.
They were
awesome.
Jackson. They were the Jackson 5 plus Johnny. Johnny was the cousin. Johnny was the cousin. In the poster, I got the poster somewhere.
No way. That's awesome.
Jackson 5 plus Johnny and Little
Who's the
Mike.
goat now? Tommy Chong had them open for him, man. Come on.
Yeah, right.
You are one of my greatest heroes, and I've told you that a couple times.
Yeah, well, I've been watching Forrest Gump a lot, and I feel like I'm Forrest Gump. And so,
Yeah.
because
in what way?
I've been connected
You are
with
a multifaceted man.
I've been connected with all the stars. You know, Muhammad Ali. I had moments with Muhammad Ali. Everyone.
You were on WWE Raw.
I got
was awesome.
Stoned. I got stoned in front of every Beatle except Paul. Paul's the only, and he was the only one that would have smoked with me.
Oh yeah,
You told me that.
Really?
Yeah.
So you met John Lennon.
I room one time where John Lennon was sitting on the floor, and I didn't see him. And I was smoking a joint, and I saw him. I offered him a toke, and he said, "Oh no, thanks, mate. I'm having immigration problems right now." So he couldn't smoke it. Then Rod Stewart walked in, and he was more interested in fluffing out his hair than he was in smoking.
Oh, yeah.
And a few years later, I was in a situation where Ringo was there, but he wasn't smoking because he was on the wagon for alcohol.
Was it the one where you met Jack Nicholson when he was sitting on the floor and you went in the elevator with him? You told me.
No. He was.
Tell them boys that one.
That was the same one. I walked out of the room where John Lennon and Rod Stewart turned me down. Ran into Jack Nicholson, and Jack had just finished. I think Few Good Men, some war movie, you know.
Yeah.
And I was stoned as can be, and all I could remember was of the movie was Jack combing his hair in the mirror, and it took like forever, and he had no hair. He had little thin little wisp of hair, but he combed and combed. And so
every little bit counts, you know.
I asked him. So I asked him. I said, Jack, it was just like I known him all my life, you know, which I did. We all did, you know.
Right. Yeah, you grew up. You in many ways grew up with a lot of these celebrities.
Came up together.
Yeah. So when I asked him that, he just looked at me like, "Who the fuck are you?" It was like, "Excuse me, I want to get away from you."
He probably thought you were just like a regular stoner, you know.
He said, "You're in my way."
How did you get past security?
It was a private party, and in some respects, it was to welcome Cheech and Chong into the celebrity bin, you know, because we had just had a record out called "Dave's Not Here," and it was like it was eating up the airway. You know, it was so popular. So so it was really about us, and it was also they were trying to hook Carole King up with a eligible guy because she at the time she was kind of looking for a new partner, you know, and I was the songwriter, so right away her girlfriend said, "Hey, have you met Carol yet?" "You wrote that song, didn't you? Does your mama know about me?" "Yeah." "Oh, you got to meet Carol." You know.
So of all the celebrities you met, was there ever one person where you were like really starstruck about, where you're like, man, you know, because you've seen so many from so many eras, you know?
You would think You would think, my life has been so ordained that it's kind of embarrassing, you know. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. One time, like, see, I was never the best musician in any band I was in. In fact, if anything, I was one of the worst, because when you start getting paid for music, you're in the people that are getting top dollar.
Right.
They're the good jazz musicians that can read and write music.
Yeah. Classically trained, all that stuff.
Yeah. So when I started, when we could afford the best musicians, that's what we hired. And I was never, I was never a schooled musician. I learned by ear, and I still play by ear. I tried to learn to read, but then, then I started meeting like guitar heroes like Wes Montgomery. How I met Wes Montgomery at a concert in Vancouver. And the reason I met him face to face was that jazz was really not attracting anybody back then. That's like the 50s.
The 50s.
And Wes was working in this tiny little jazz club. And he did 2 shows, and the first show was over, and I got there for the second show, and everybody was passed out. I was the only guy that was awake. In Vancouver, all the the junkies go to the jazz club, because you get out of the cold and listen to some jazz while you're enjoying your junk, So
right.
So there was nobody in the place except me that was awake.
That was awake. For once, you weren't the only one stoned in the room.
So I was.
I got
I was stoned, but not stoned enough.
Yeah, you were in junkie stone. Yeah.
So I got my Tommy Chong socks on. I got in a big fight with my wife about buying these. I almost got divorced, but I don't know if you can see them, but there they are.
Why she didn't want you to buy them?
She's like, you don't need those. I'm like, yeah, I do. They're Cheech and Chong. I bought 2 pairs of them. So we left the store. I didn't buy them. I went back to the store and bought them when she didn't know.
You want to torture your wife?
Yeah.
Wear overalls.
We went to. I
was gonna say I didn't know if you had any underwear.
Manny
was selling any underwear.
Manny's calling me a bitch when I told him I saw Cheech and Chong socks and she won't let me buy them. He's like, you're a bitch. So I went back. I turned she's got a tracking device on my phone. She's gonna hear all this now. I turned it off and then I went back to Ross's Dress for Less. I left work early, went back to Ross's Dress for Less. They had another pair, so I bought both of them. You and Cheech, and you're sitting there holding pina coladas with like 4 big-breasted women. So I had to get those too. But these want to have you guys in the van. I just wanted to show you. I got my socks.
That's so cool, man.
So now that James is divorced, I will just like to say it was.
We'll try.
Hey, man. I know the feeling, dude. I did. Listen, I got my. We're talking about stand-up comedy. I did the no-no of all comics. I got my wife on stage.
Yeah. You guys are hilarious together.
Whoa,
shout out to your wife.
You. Shelby's awesome.
Yep. Shout out to Shelby.
That was not well received by the comedy community back in. That I was. Like
she's
Bob
funny. Well, she's actually funny. That's the important thing.
She's a killer.
Yeah, I saw the one bit where she was talking. she said living with you. She swore weed was legal. She had no idea. Like, there was weed everywhere. I thought it was just a regular thing everybody was doing.
Oh yeah, no, she's a joy. Yeah. In fact, when I started doing shows by myself, it was like, she wouldn't. It got very cold, very chilly in my house.
Very, very quickly.
Your whole family's talented. I used to have a crush when I saw Commando. That was my crush. Your daughter was my crush for the next 7 years. Until that Alyssa Milano developed.
Just to further hammer in that divorce, your wife's gonna just
Alyssa Milano's in that movie too, by the way.
Yeah, it kind of got embarrassing when Cheech started ogling my other daughter, Robbie. Apparently, she was in a couple of semi-nudie kind of soft porn movies, and Cheech was he was torn between telling me about it and knowing that he shouldn't tell me about it.
Right?
I feel bad watching this.
Manny, I will not tell you when your daughter gets that age. I'll keep it to myself.
God. No.
I busted Robert De Niro. We were at a big Paramount 100-year anniversary, and so they had all the Paramount stars, there. It was like, shitload. Everybody that was anybody except Cheech. Cheech couldn't make it.
Oh man.
So I'm there with talking with Tom Cruise, Martin Scorsese,
Wow.
Robert De Niro, and a couple of others. Anyway, we're talking, and I just wanted to get it in there because years ago when we did the Corsican Brothers,
My favorite.
we were in Cannes.
Well,
because
my first experience with.
We shot the movie in France, and so we were in Cannes at the Cannes Film Festival, and Robert De Niro shows up. Ray Dawn was in the Corsican Brothers. She played a little tarot card reader, and so while De Niro was there with my daughter, he dates her. He dates my daughter, Ray Dawn, and. And we kind of meet, and it was a funny date because Ray Dawn told me that they would go to now Ray De Niro said, I don't want to be, want this public, so let's go to a little unknown, little hideaway where no one knows.
Not talk about it on a podcast.
Yeah, so he every restaurant they go to. He got nervous. He didn't like it. I don't like it here. I don't. So they kept moving. And what they didn't like was that he thought that he would like to be unnoticed.
Oh, I see. What's the paparazzi and all that?
But the guys like that, when they're not noticed, they get really antsy. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. What's wrong?
How come no one's noticing me?
So anyway, Ray Dawn, my daughter, kept telling me about the date. She'd pull me up, give me a running dialogue. Oh, we're at another restaurant now, Dad. He got too nervous. He had to leave. So I reminded him.
Take some edibles.
But my daughter, she was about 19, I guess, at that time. And so I started bugging De Niro about dating my daughter. Acting like an upset parent.
Yeah. Could you imagine if Tommy Chong was Robert De Niro's stepfather? I mean, that sounds like a B-list movie, if you ask me, right?
But he did not pick up on the humor. He did
right?
He did not think any of that was funny.
Oh wait, did he? Wait, hold on, wait.
He ignored me like Jack Nicholson ignored me.
You got to stay away from these A-listers. I don't know what it is. So was it? But he didn't give you like an attitude or anything. He just ignored you.
Just ignored me. Like he did the De Niro laugh. Like,
did he say, "Are you talking to me?" Were you talking? Was that directed towards me?
Are you talking about me?
So let me bring it back a little bit, Tommy, here, because I was kind of just like doing a little bit of research and everything before this podcast, and I didn't know this. You were not only a pioneer in the whole counterculture movement, but you were also the first person in Vancouver to put a comedy club and titties together, right?
Oh yeah. So what I did, I took a dinner theater and I turned it into a strip joint.
And it was the first comedy one, right? It was the first comedy topless.
Well, no, it was the first strip joint first, and then I converted it into a comedy theater.
Nice. Wait, you had the first strip club in Vancouver? You had the first strip club ever in Vancouver?
No.
Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
It was
pretty much. We were the first to do it, then Gary Lane. I know Gary. I forgets his last name, but anyway, then he opened a real strip club, and then they opened down the street and everything else. But we were the first to do comedy. There was a titty law, pasty law, where you supposed to have pasties on the titties. And
what we did, I don't know what are pasties.
Caps that go over the nipple.
Oh, the
tassels that go on.
That you gotta leave that much to imagination, right?
I told you, talking to Tommy is a learning experience, my friend. I wrote
we did a
today.
body paint thing. That's how we got away with it. Was like just body paint, and then the cops, everything else. They couldn't give a shit. See, cops usually work on complaints. Some citizen has to complain.
Amen.
You see, and that's the thing about Vancouver. As soon as they started dancing naked, there was no complaints. Who's
gonna put it to you like that, huh?
You brought peace to the city.
Right.
You're Batman of Vancouver, man.
Yeah, Vancouver. You should. Do you have a plaque somewhere in Vancouver? Because you definitely.
I need to honor you, man.
Yeah,
the plaque.
So
you would think. Let me tell you the boob joke I wrote. I wrote a boob joke.
We just kept getting kicked out of the town. So really, you asked me how I got into comedy. I got into everything really by just getting fired or quitting to move it to do another job. That was the secret of my whole thing.
There was a little bit of necessity in there, I guess, right? That kind of just fueled you, which is a little bit.
Well, no, I always knew that I was going to do something great. Right. I never knew what it was. Well, that's what I'm saying. When we were in London, it was all serendipity. Very, very lucky. When we got signed with Motown with Bobby Taylor, the reason we got signed was Diana Ross and Supremes came to Vancouver. Yeah. They came down to our club after their show, and they saw what we did to an audience with our band, And again, we weren't even we never had a name. It was a bar band, We had drummers and singers and guitar players and bass players, but it wasn't a club. It wasn't a name. And so
he didn't have a name. You see,
I know. I just was thinking.
James was giving me so much crap. He was like, "What's the podcast name?" I was like,
"Tommy knows us from our stand-up reviews, man. We got to say something."
So when Diana Ross saw us, she called Barry Gordy. Barry Gordy flew his ass to Vancouver. Now I think it was a Diana Ross booty call. But he came and saw the band. He saw us and he signed us. And then he forgot about us, because he was quite busy.
But we had put you on the back burners, I'm sure.
And so then we had to make our way. We were quite ignorant about it too, when we found out Barry Gordy, Diana Ross, we're going to do a record with Motown. That's incredible.
That's crazy.
Wow. So we had no idea, that was just the beginning. We thought, wow, we had made it, bang. So we started trying to think of names for the group. I wrote about this in my book, by the way. Meditations from the Joint. I wrote that book.
Oh, that's great.
When I was in prison. So if you want, I talk about this, what happened when we come up with our own name. Right. See, Bobby Taylor, the reason Bobby Taylor was such a superstar in Canada was that he was one of those kind of outlaw type singers that were, the audience was looking for him, but a lot of times the police were also looking for him.
So even with music, we're kind of on the the counterculture kind of like
on the edge.
On the edge, right.
Yeah. You've done a lot, and so Bobby, he was very street, not so much street wise, but street
like street smart.
Sure,
he was from the streets, kind of. Yeah.
I'm from the streets.
From New York.
Common sense.
A little different. New York. Like Brooklyn, poor poverty Brooklyn. He grew up in a poor family where the father would go to the Goodwill stores and get a box of shoes and then bring them home and dump them on the kitchen table. And all the kids in the family would find a pair of shoes that fit. And Bobby, because he was one of the smallest, always had shoes that were too big for him, you see. Back in the day, this homeless thing we got going, it's not anything new. It's been with humanity forever. And
right.
And back in the day, Charlie Chaplin, his tramp character was based on poverty, to the fact where his funny way he'd walked was because his shoes didn't fit, and his shoes were oversized, and that's the way poor people had to deal with life back then. And so Bobby came from that world.
Yeah,
Oh,
Tommy, if I can real quick, just to go back on something you touched base on earlier, you mentioned briefly that you felt like you were always destined for something. And I kind of want to ask that question, but I felt like it's kind of like a cheesy question to ask, But it's something that I've been like thinking about lately. Did you feel like when you were younger, before the fame and everything, did you just feel like there was something that was happening in you, or something that you felt like you were destined for these sort of things? Or
well, what happened when you're dirt ass poor but decent?
I know about that.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah.
We just swapped out
you,
the guest.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
So the four of us grew up
you,
the same
you do
way, four,
you,
yeah.
you, you do what's available for you
Right.
to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that doesn't cost you money, or you don't have to dress. I mean,
Mhm.
because when you're as poor as we were, you had one outfit, and that was for church or Sunday school or a wedding. And when you had one
Going
decent
over
outfit.
to
Yeah, everything else naked.
Going over to
you know?
family's house. Yeah.
And then,
Everything else
and
he
then
did was
also,
naked.
you wore the same clothes every day, not
Right.
because, and the only reason you did it was because of the washing. See, when you had to wash everything by hand, the last thing you wanted to do was to dirty anything,
Yeah.
or it didn't get washed until it was dirty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hate doing
There was
laundry
no
now.
need.
We have washing machines and everything,
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah. You've got washing machines, and even then, it's hard to get to it.
Yeah.
You had to wash by hand, and not only wash by hand, but you had to carry the water from a well or a pump.
Oh,
You
man.
had
That's how my
heat
dad
it.
grew up. Yeah.
You had
Yeah.
to heat it on the stove until it got hot enough to do a wash. And then after you did the wash, you didn't just throw the water out. You watered your garden with it. You did a lot of things with it.
Resourceful. Yeah.
Recycling.
It was a whole different way of living, you know.
Right.
And so as far as the clothes goes, when you're poor, like I had just one nice outfit, and that was to go to Sunday school, and that's where I went. And when you're as young as I was, those stories meant everything.
With the Bible stories?
The Bible stories,
Yeah.
Jesus, the story of Jesus, but more than anything, it was the power of prayer. You see, I learned the power of prayer when I was 5, 6 years old. You know, and when you're praying from that age, well, look what I've accomplished.
Yeah,
There's your answer.
There you go.
I feel moved right now because I was raised Irish Catholic, and I don't pay much attention to the church anymore. But the other day I was just like counting my blessings that everything's moving in the right way. And I said in Our Father, and I said in Our Father today, and then hearing Tommy talk about this opportunity was brought to me today to Tommy to speak with you.
Yeah.
And I said in Our Father today before that opportunity arrived at my door, and to hear you say that, I was like, oh shit.
He said that last time we talked, and since the last time we talked, just like Manny said, things have been happening, like epiphanies have been happening, and things have been
Right.
I was kind of like comforted.
Yeah.
Because and that's what Jesus said. If I don't go away, if they don't kill my ass and take me off this earth.
Is that a quote from Jesus? If they don't kill my ass,
then the comforter, the comforter can't come until he's gone. See, as long as Jesus was there, what he promised.
Right.
But that was it. See, everything that was written in the Bible, is so true.
Right.
But it's also of the times. Like the book about Noah and the flood. It's cool, except it was an anti-gay
Flood.
tirade. You know,
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
The flood only killed
to
the
the
days.
point-
So everyone else
I think it's the overall message.
Yeah.
If you would take out the human interference aspect of the Bible and you listen to the moral message of the Bible, that's where you find the most comfort and direction.
But but when people say is the Bible true, you know, and I think when you look at it like the Ten Commandments, for example, right?
Mhm.
Is it true that Moses went up there with and like did it all, or whatever the case? I don't really care about those aspects of it. But are the Ten Commandments true? Is it true that like if you don't kill your neighbor, your life will be a little better? You know, if you don't have sex with your neighbor's wife, your life will be a little better. Those are truths in there in the Bible.
But they're not. But you got to remember, guys, they're not suggestions.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Amen.
You understand? They're not suggestions. What Moses came down with is hard truth.
Yeah.
They're hard truths. Period. Now you can if you go, you know, if you know what to expect, then there's no surprises. You see, and that's another thing. What the reason we're here is to experience the earth, the life.
Yeah.
Experience. We're here for the experience. We're not here to moralize or to cast judgment on anybody. That's why in the scriptures, one of the most important commandments or suggestions, whatever you want to call it, is judge not. That is, to me, that is the most powerful commandment for me right now.
That's
because
awesome.
As soon as I stop judging, and I'm talking about everything, food, movies, books, music, everything. As soon as I stop judging and just accepting, well, that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so much happier.
Acceptance. That's acceptance of thy neighbor and everybody else around you. I believe, I believe in this life, this physical is to gain as much positive energy as we can, because the next phase of existence is a energy based existence. Like, heavens, we talk about the Holy Ghost and the spirits and everything. Those are all energy life forms. So like, master positive energy, treat everyone as if they're you living another life, help everybody. Those are things that like I look forward to,
but what we have to realize, the reason, that there is chaos and wars, like when disasters happen, there's mass shootings and that, there's always someone that says, I don't want this to happen to anybody else. And that is a lucrative, ridiculous statement, period. Everything is going to happen to everybody else. Everything that can happen will be happening to us. Why? Because we are eternal beings.
Amen. Right.
We've always been over and over again.
Right.
We've always been here. We always will be here. And what are we here to do? We're here to learn. That's all. That's all. Whatever you're doing. And by the way, if it's robbing banks, so be it.
Someone has to do it. There has to be some bank robbers out there.
That's what I'm saying.
There's FDIC for a reason, guys.
So Tom, let me ask you, just to kind of take a deter from the conversation real quick. But when you first met Cheech, right? You met him over in Vancouver, right? Do you remember the first time you met him, like that very first time?
Absolutely, it was serendipity, man. It was,
and you knew right away, like there was something special about this guy.
No, what happened after the reason we started the comedy strip club was I saw that the girls, when they would walk into work, were beautiful, gorgeous, interesting. You wanted to know who they were. But the minute they put on their dancing outfit and went out there and became strippers, then there was a lot of things, wasn't interesting. It was just like you're just going for the hard on, going for the hard.
Yeah.
But when
take over.
But when the reason I was in this strip club, I was looking for something to do. I owned the club with my brother. But they were operating on their own. My brother was the manager, the boss. I came in there, and so the only job I wanted was working the lights in the strip club with the girls. And that's when I saw that, and I saw the girls and the guys and everything else, and I thought, fine, we can do a beautiful theater here, you know, and use the girls as actresses.
Oh, wow.
and just really have a fun thing, you know. And so that's how I started.
And you put the girls in the comedy with you, right?
They know what I did. The first bit we did, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell the audience, posters, nothing. I didn't tell my brother.
You just did it.
He was running the clubs. And so what I did, I went in, I turned it into an improvisational theater, comedy theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had actors. And what I did, I used the people that were working in the club already as actors. Like the MC of the strip club was a tap dancer named Taps Harris, black guy, tap his ass off, but no one ever saw him dance. And so he would just introduce the girls, and here comes Lily, here comes Sally, here, you know, whatever. And so then, so I got him, and then they had a black girl named Jeannie singing with a three-piece band. And so I had the band hidden behind the curtain, and then but I wanted to start off with comedy. And so now I had a friend, one of the greatest guitarists ever. He he wrote actually Eric My Eye, you know, the Cheech Chong song.
Right.
He wrote the music, I wrote the lyrics.
Oh, really? He did the music for that?
Nice.
And so he so Gay was this great guitarist who also played classical guitar. And so we're going right from a strip club, hardcore strip club, you know, Otis Redding tunes and girls dancing, to now it's a theater club. Now I got a mime artist. You know, but as soon as you say
the whole
theater,
mime thing, is that it?
the mime artist, yeah. Everybody came from theaters. They came to the theater.
Was it a topless mime or?
No, he was with the traditional mime, with the traditional mime, white face and the hat, and
nice.
The
Always
gloves,
trapped in a box.
Right.
So he was with Gay playing classical guitar. He starts off the show. Gay starts playing classical. Now, don't forget, this was a strip club that none of the audience knew what was going on. And so the bikers, and the horny businessmen, they're sitting there. And at first, they saw the mime artist. Oh, this is interesting.
Oh, that's great.
And then it went on, and the mime artist plucking and throwing the little things. And Dave, my partner, partner comes out. He got long hair and a cowboy hat, and he comes up with a scarf, and he starts singing this sort of operatic, like Broadway show hit. You know? he's standing there with a mic and long hair, and he starts singing, "I dream of Jeannie with a light brown hair. Jeannie is my favorite wired-haired terrier." And there's silence. And then I bust through the door behind Dave, who sang the song, and it looked like I just woke up. I'm bare-chested, got my pants on, barefoot. Looked like I just threw my pants on and kicked the door open. And I walk over to Dave and I start beating him with a rolled up newspaper.
No way.
What kind of fucking song is that? It was like the bikers came to life and just did what every biker sitting there wanted to do. It brought the house down. I never heard laugh like that. And then from there, we went into other shows.
That's when you knew we can make this happen. We can do
something. Then we
yeah.
started doing other comedy stuff. We kicked that off. I mean, our success was again the reason we moved on, because we were doing so well, and that
and I'm sorry,
we packed the joint, but we were losing money compared to what we were bringing in with the strippers.
I see.
And so my brother, I mean, we would have still been doing there forever, but my brother fired us. He says, "No, you have to get out of here." And so then Cheech and I put a band together, and then because we were so into comedy by that time, even though we had a band,
You put a band with Cheech together? I didn't know that.
we never. Yeah, Cheech is the lead singer, and,
really?
and so we never sang a note. We never played a note. We just did comedy.
But
And that was the beginning of Cheech.
but Cheech was he was selling carpets, right? Is that not is that true? He was selling carpets
He was
around
doing
the area.
everything.
Yeah.
He was doing everything. He was one of the jobs he had was delivering carpets.
Delivering
carpets, right? He didn't do the sales part. He just delivered it over. You know.
Yeah, I heard that.
And he was also writing. He was a music reviewer for a hippie magazine called Poppin'.
Oh wow!
And so he wrote the music reviews.
Oh, so he was already.
He wrote some good reviews, like on Richard Pryor when Pryor was starting out. He did some pretty good, reviews.
And that first time you met Cheech, did you know like right away, like this guy is like we have to do something with him. We have to bring him on board on the comedy thing.
First time I met Cheech, I met him at his hippie little magazine office. And then we invited him down to the show. So he came down to the show. And he walked in, and we were backstage. And when he came in with this gorgeous brunette, looked like a movie actress.
Oh, yeah?
Full length with mink coat. He made an entrance.
That's how you do it.
Right?
Come in with a supermodel and a mink coat.
Right?
I said to myself, he's hired.
He came in with that swag, huh? You ready? You already had
well, we would have hired. Well, we did. We hired anybody that wanted a gig at the time.
Yeah, and got pack the people in there to pack the seats.
Yeah, man. And I just good. Just to touch base on something, because you are obviously like just a pioneer to the whole counterculture, man. You're so important. You and Cheech. I mean, there probably wasn't a movie.
Yeah,
you're a martyr too, which is what I'm going to get on in a second. You know. Yeah, but in a lot of ways, and you know, you hear a lot of people give homage to celebrities, and maybe sometimes it's a little too hyped up as far as like, oh, you know, you're all this, but you actually are a martyr in that let's take it back a second. First off, yes, in the 70s, no one was talking about marijuana. You made marijuana cool. All of the propaganda was all negative for so long. You guys were just so brave. I think of people like you, George Carlin, who were just kind of brave to kind of go up there, which is why I was shocked.
Forefront,
which is why I was shocked that when you did get arrested, and we could talk about that for a second for the bongs, that you never had any priors. I was like, Jesus Christ. You have anything to say about your legacy and where marijuana is right now, like the current state of it, and how we're treating it?
Are you still doing edibles? You had a sore throat.
Yeah. No, I you know, it's my job now. You know, I reluctantly accept the fact that I have to stay relatively stoned all the time.
My wife asked
one time, you know, I paid my dues.
Yeah.
When I got busted, I made a point of showing the feds and everybody that marijuana is a controlled substance.
Right.
Yeah.
You can control it.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't control you. You control it. Right. And I proved it. I said, and so, you know, just myself, because he started drug testing me as soon as I got busted. I started getting drug tested right away, you know. And I quit smoking right away. I quit everything because I'm not an addict. I never was. If anything, I was a cigarette addict. And I used marijuana to get off cigarettes. See, the way I did it was every time I felt like a cigarette, I light a joint. And I can only take 2 or 3 tokes, and I'd put it out. And next thing I know, I don't need cigarettes and I don't need pot. So I went 3 years when I got busted, from the day I got busted, 3 years later, before I was totally clean, and the government said, okay, you're off probation, you're free to go. That day or that week, I lit a joint for the first time.
How high did you get after that one?
I almost broke my fucking back.
Man,
I was in Vancouver. on my beach, and there's a beach of logs and shit, and I forgot. I got so high, I forgot that I had the wrong shoes on, and I took my feet went from underneath me. It was like, welcome back to the stoner world. Bam.
All came back. Man, I saw that documentary that they did on you, that AKA Tommy Chong, and like, bro, that prosecutor that Mary Beth Buchanan, whatever her name was, Jesus Christ, man. You guys hear about this? She's somebody who needed to smoke a joint. I think that would have helped her out completely, you know?
Right.
You know,
she has a record for it.
No, you can't if it was that easy.
She's just
it'd
trying
be nice. Well, there's a lot of evilness and hate, a lot of hate, a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Fear. You know, they fear it. That's why when they meet me, you know, they're like, oh God, you're not at all like I thought, you know.
Yeah, it kind of felt like she grew up very like conservative, and that she just didn't like what you guys represented. So then when she got older, she had like some sort of vendetta against you or something, you know? That's kind of what that's the kind of vibe that I got. It's like, you know, she's like taking out her memories.
No, when you find people like that, what happens? It's usually some horrendous world event happens, and these people like the 9/11,
exactly. drug addict parents and
so
stuff
what
like
they
that.
They find people that came to the fore, you know, did their job, and they got some press, you know, and that's what happened with her. And they did the whole thing, you know, about the bust was all political.
Yeah, it was
George Bush was fighting a war in Iraq, and it was not a good war, and he was looking for some kind of resistance.
So like
they got to get the attention off of his
scapegoat. Look over here. Don't look over here.
Yeah. Look what these guys are doing. You know.
Exactly.
They try to say
don't focus on
it. They're still doing that today.
Yeah. Let's not focus on the shit that's really fucking up.
Was funding the Al Qaeda. You know,
Al Qaeda.
We were making billions of dollars with the bomb company.
Yeah.
That's what they said, and that's all.
They really were.
But it's all good. It's all good because I was just before the show. I was watching these Indian proverbs, and this one proverb said, "The truth that needs a few words."
How do you feel about like the new pretty boy comedians that are out nowadays versus traditional comedians? Like traditionally, comedians are average looking guys.
Comedians who took pride in looking ugly.
Yeah, like we were not the ones getting laid unless our jokes slayed. So like, you know, how do you feel about the new culture of pretty boy comedians?
Well, they're like the pandemic. They're unique, and they're all by themselves, just like we were.
And you got to get vaccinated if you want to go see them. You know?
Yeah. No. They're all from the same batch, you know, of experiences, and really, you know what stand-up comedy really is therapy for people that are
absolutely
too cheap or too ignorant to figure out that you could hire someone to listen to your bullshit. But comedians, we find a way to make other people pay us to listen to our bullshit.
Exactly.
How do you feel about jokes that age? Like, how do you feel jokes age? Like some jokes that are funny. You've been doing comedy long enough that you have done jokes throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. How do you feel about jokes that used to work in the 60s, sort of died off in the 70s, and were dead by the 80s? Do you see a resurgence in old material? Are you seeing old concepts come back to life?
No, you got to remember, we're fishermen, comedians, you know, and what we're fishing for is an audience, someone to listen to our shit, you know. And so every fisherman, they're not, you know, when they cast their line into the water, they're not getting the same fish that they got 20 years ago or 5 years ago or even 5 minutes ago.
Right.
Okay.
So it's all different, man.
Oh,
It's
that's an interesting way of putting it. You're
it,
catching new fish. All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing.
Same bait,
You
new
know, as
fish.
comedians,
Right.
we collect people that think like us and laugh at our jokes and shit. You know.
Yeah. And then I mean, now you're seeing there's a lot of like the whole cancel culture thing now, right? Where you're seeing people get canceled for stuff that they said in the '90s that was
Yeah.
perfectly okay in the '90s.
No,
you know?
but I understand it.
Yeah, I love you.
I,
Yeah.
I
I
gotta
got
go do the
canceled.
radio though. Yeah, talk to
Okay.
you later. Stand up produce.
Look,
Right.
the truth was,
Sorry.
I got canceled myself
You guys up in the studio.
by Herbie Hancock.
Wait, you got canceled by Herbie Hancock?
Yes, I did.
Wow, tell me that story.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Herbie, big fan, big
Right.
Cheech Chong fan. And I didn't know it at the time, but he was a fan of my music before I was Cheech and Chong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he knew Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. Of course, he's a musician. You know, we had a minor hit, and the word in the music business travels. So Herbie knew me from the music days.
Oh, you see, so Herbie already knew you from the music days, but how did he get you canceled though?
Yeah.
Well, he's a big fan, and he had a big concert years ago that he invited Cheech and I. Cheech and I went. We were on his show, and then, but then over the years, we've stayed friends, just professionally. And then we were working at Reno. We were going to work just with Cheech and Chong and Shelby, that show. And Herbie was, we were talking, we were at the Marquee, we were talking about it. We hadn't seen each other for many years,
Right.
but we're not really that tight. It's like he was a fan.
Acquaintances.
I'm a fan of his music. He was a fan of my comedy, so it wasn't like a friendly thing, It was
you weren't
like,
calling you weren't calling him every night to gossip.
Yeah,
right?
he wasn't coming.
Yeah.
He wasn't coming to the barbecues.
Yeah. So he said he said, when I do the blind melon chitlin bit, he said, you do the blind. No, how do you say it now? He said, when you do the bit, you play your ass off, man. Like you can play.
Yeah. Love that.
And then you do that other shit.
Right. But how did that lead to you getting canceled though?
Well, that's what it was. Then you do that other shit. And I realized, wow, because that's what I am. That's what Blind was doing.
Right.
He was taking the culture. He was
Right.
using the culture and doing it, going with it.
Right.
I was exactly what they say, the cancel culture. And when Herbie said that to me, he said, and then you do that other shit. Now I can take it either way.
Yeah. Right.
I could do that other shit in a light way. Yeah, that's so funny because it is. I mean, it's a genius bit, but it also has that tinge, that Jim Crow era, that slavery.
Yeah, that disdain on it.
Right at the thing, and so it goes beyond music. It gets into personal shit,
Right.
And so that's what the culture is. We there's a lot of things we can't do because that's what you did back then.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Cultural norms change.
That's given to you.
Right.
Yeah, cultural norms definitely do change.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Now, that was then, and it's a whole different day now.
Yeah, it's almost like it just goes, and you've been around long enough to see a few cycles of this. It's almost like it goes full circle. Like even in the '90s, which wasn't all that terribly long ago. You see these certain things that are not going to fly today. And it wasn't even that long ago. And
he says that he is grasping for straws. He's not that long ago, 30 years.
Well, what does it feel that long ago? But I mean, what in the grand scheme of the of the earth, 30 years is nothing.
It's a blink of time, especially
But yeah, no, but it seems like it kind of comes full circle to where it kind of swings a little too much on one pendulum, where there's too much overcorrection, and even now you're starting to see people get a little more edgier,
and they're
now,
pushing back,
right,
and
right, and now it's like you're suppressing that sort of like that vulgar comedy and the stuff you can't. You're telling comedians what they can't talk about or society, right? And it's giving people like this urge to want to hear it now, and so now it's starting to come out.
Remember, whatever you're saying is what you're hearing.
This is true.
Yeah.
Whatever you're saying, that's what you're hearing.
Right.
That's what you're hearing. That's what applies to you,
right.
To yourself personally.
Right.
And so, that's cool. You always got to know where you're at, and that's where you're at.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, here's something I ask. I want to try to ask every comedian that comes on here. What you're such a legend. I know probably people don't even think about this. Do you remember that one time where you bombed horribly on stage? Was there ever a time where what was your worst bomb on stage? Was there? It's for either you or Cheech, or was there ever a time you bombed on stage as a comedian? Or what was your worst one?
No, the thing is, if you bomb, if you truly bomb. And that happens. It's because of the circumstances.
Right. He's spoken like a true comedian.
Yeah. It wasn't me, it was them.
What happened, they obviously, maybe the mic didn't work.
Right.
They didn't understand what you said.
You weren't in the mood for it? Or?
But you weren't really saying anything.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, and I heard George Carlin say that too. He said, "Listen, if it works on Wednesday, it should work on Friday." He was like, it was, a lot of times it's the crowd and the venue, and it just kind of depends. It depends on a lot of factors. You're right, the circumstances. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
no, the thing is, it's a learning experience.
Yeah, that's what I say. No, I love when I bomb.
It's not so much bombing. I don't call it bombing. Well, the bombing that I saw, like when Cheech and I were coming up, there's a little place called Canopos on Sunset, and it was a steakhouse, but he had a little room upstairs where he did comedy, and it was still the steakhouse.
Around what time was this? Is this like what decade are we talking?
1970.
In the 70s? Okay.
Really?
It was 1970 itself.
Oh.
And so Cheech and I were part of a lineup of comedians that would go to Canopos and get on stage, do our act, And there was one guy, and there was like a lineup every night of about 5 or 6 comedians. And so Terry, I think was his name, little English guy, a little bowler hat. And he would come on first because there was no one in the club, and he would do his act basically to nobody.
Oh, really? Oh,
the waitresses.
Right.
And he did his act. And so I started noticing it. And so I had to Cheech us, come on, let's go watch that whole act. We watched this whole act, and we laughed at the right time and everything. It kind of fucked up his timing. Because he had planned to do an act to an empty crowd. He was
like, oh shit, there's a real audience here. Wait.
Oh shit. Yeah. Cheech and Chong are in the crowd. What am I doing?
Well, we weren't Cheech and Chong then. No one knew we were. One of the guys was the Unknown Comic. Did you ever run across him?
The Unknown Comic. No,
I've heard of the Unknown Comic.
Just the key. What's something some advice that you would give to comedians coming up? Because everyone knows this is like a tough industry, not just to break out in, just the fact that we bomb. So every now and then, it's not like music or anything else like that. So is there any advice that you would give to a young comic who's maybe watching this and who,
advice? Yeah.
Smoke weed? Is that
one? Yeah. Well. It's hard to give anybody advice.
Yeah.
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith.
Yeah.
Keep the faith.
Well,
because again, in scripture, it says, "It shall be according to thy faith." Right. Think about that. If your faith is low, or even cynical, it shall be according to thy faith. If your faith is very positive and uplifting, it shall be according to thy faith. It's however you decide you want to approach anything. It's all up to you. Think of yourself as a female lion stalking a prey, because that prey is food for your family. And you got to make the right moves. Because if you make the wrong move, that prey is going to run away on you. And then you'll have to start again from the beginning.
Yeah.
So if you got the time and you can get yourself, if you don't care about it, then get distracted. But if you want to make it, if you want
Keep
to
your eye on the ball.
capture that prey, you keep your eye on that prey, on your mission.
Gotta say, that's not the first time I've identified as a female lion, but
I absolutely want to say, you know, I've been a big fan ever since I was a child, and you know, to sit here and talk with you and hear these stories and hear how sharp you are just goes to prove that marijuana has shit on your memory. You are as sharp tack, my man.
Yeah, like, you really are. Right?
But think about this: pot is the only. Think about it. Pot is the only drug that tells you, okay, you've had enough.
Yeah, when the fridge is empty, you know it's time to call it quits. You know?
You're there. Stop. You're there. You know, put down. See, you know what made cocaine so popular is booze heads.
The alcoholics.
Yeah, still that case, I think.
That was my problem. I would use alcohol as my excuse to get cocaine. I've been years clean, so like.
Yeah, I would use cocaine as an excuse to get cocaine. It was rough, you know. Yeah. Just kept coming back for more, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, Cheech, yeah, man. I mean, oh my God, Cheech, that's funny. Chong, Chong. I just want to say, man, look, we really appreciate you doing this, man. Again, I am someone who's just coming in the game, and the reason why I asked you about that synchronization, like, if you felt that since you were younger, you know, it's kind of like you said, being faith driven. And I've kind of been on that with, you know, I'm here at some my homegirl. She owns like a Cabo bar, juice bar. She gave me the space back here, you know, and I just kind of been having my faith focused on the right areas, you know, and kind of focus on this. And I'm seeing these little doors open left and right. And, you know, you're the second celebrity that I met, and the fact that you're willing to come here is almost just like validation that, you know, I'm kind of headed in the right direction, or just kind of keep doing this, you know. And so, I mean, as someone who's coming up on this, man, and the reason again why I asked that question about if you ever felt that growing up, it's because, you know, I it's something that I'm focused on, is keeping my faith on that. And when you do that, you do feel that, okay, you know, you try not to get the ego come involved, you know, but you start to think like, okay, man, you know, can I you feel like you're destined to kind of do something with this, you know. So,
well, whatever you do, especially physical, because that's where age really affects you, if you allow it to. Is a physical thing, you know. You got to keep reminding your body that it's got work to do. It's not over. So because if you don't, your body's going to start saying, well, he doesn't need me here, doesn't need me there, you know.
You don't use it, you're not using it.
Physical fitness is like a foreign language. If you don't use it, you lose it.
That's right.
Are you still doing tango? Are you still doing the tango dancing, Tommy?
Well, I got it down more to I'm working on a tango exercise routine.
Oh, nice.
For everybody.
Are you gonna do like DVDs and stuff?
Well, men and women, because and I visualize
modified jazzercise.
Like a gym, like a gym attitude, but it's a dance hall setting, you know.
Oh wow, that sounds awesome.
Where you come to sweat, but when it's time to perform, you can put on your nice clothes, you know.
Oh, nice. So this is something when I saw that documentary, right? This is something, it's such a fleeting moment in the documentary. I don't even know if you remember this, but your son Paris was saying something. He was like, my dad wanted to make a $1 million bong. And he was saying, he said he wanted to put gold plates on it, and he was like, "Dad, that's not a viable." Which personally, not to disagree with parents, but I beg to differ. I think, dude,
Right?
if you make a $1 billion bong made by Chong, it would be, dude, it would be.
Well, yeah.
Do you remember
No,
that
no.
idea? Or
I'm in the process of designing it.
really,
Yeah.
this is still a thing.
The Tommy Chong $1 million bomb.
Oh yeah.
I've been working on the like NFTs,
Oh
Oh
really?
yeah.
These are carvings that I do with a Dremel drill.
Oh man, I can't see. I gotta get up to watch it.
Where's the camera? There
Oh
it is.
hell yeah! Oh nice.
It's one of my guys. There's another one of the guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I sit there and with a Dremel.
That's
wow.
awesome.
Man,
Yeah,
And
I'm
I got to show you something else I made here.
hold on.
yeah, we're both gonna get up for this one.
This is my answer to well, it's an NFT. I'll let you decide what it is. These are fish clubs. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
Okay.
Our screen is set up. It's not coming up on the big screen today,
Yeah.
so we're looking at the computer monitor.
This isn't Hollywood, Tommy. Bear with us.
Oh, check that out!
Oh wow.
See, I'm making these. Now this is a pipe.
That's a
Oh hell yeah!
You smoke it.
Oh hell yeah!
What is that made out of?
This is out of a eucalyptus branch from my yard.
Where?
Nice,
Are you?
nice.
So it's an NFC. So you're selling that online? Is that how that works? How's that work?
I'm not
Is that-
selling anything.
Oh.
No, he's not selling.
No,
He's
these
just,
are-
he's just carving those. So
Oh.
where
I
do
write
you?
this down. I
Excuse-
showed a bunch to my wife, and she says, "Oh, who are you going to give those to?"
Now, excuse my ignorance. Eucalyptus only grow in certain climates. So where are you in California?
In Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a whole line of eucalyptus trees behind my property.
Oh, that's
between
awesome.
me and the next guy. Yeah.
Oh man,
Nice,
now you
nice,
can
nice.
smoke out of one. That's great.
yeah.
Oh no, I'm making these
Just carvings.
Nice.
they're
I mean, they look beautiful, man.
they're-
How much time
from
does it
my
take you to do one of
ancestors,
those?
I go back to the Aboriginal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. So, all right, I think we're gonna, I guess, wrap this up pretty soon.
Yeah.
And let me tell me again. I just want to say, man, like again, for someone just trying to break into this whole thing, man, I appreciate it. This is good. This interview here, Tommy, is gonna have me continue to focus on this podcast for at least I'm gonna ride this way for at least 2 years. So,
Yeah,
so I had this thought earlier. Like when you're a celebrity, it's the idea that you just saying hi to somebody can make their day. Can really just change. I mean, it's just a power that's so unique.
I just want to thank you for the years of being a genuine human being.
Amen.
And like really pioneering a lot of facets of what people call counterculture life, what we call normal life.
Yeah.
Like I grew up with a Legal Isaac poster. Now I have no clue what the fuck to do with it.
Yeah. And
Like,
and really
thank you.
and really not to underscore this. I mean, if you look at where we're at right now with marijuana, right, and you had people, so many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people getting locked up for just possession for marijuana. And I know you were never a lobbyist. You're not working for the government directly, but you in many ways had more of an impact on where we are now. And the reason why that stuff isn't happening anymore than maybe any politician ever, just because it starts with the paradigm shift in the culture, and then the government follows suit, and I think
And by the way, we're going to make some really important gains. We're making gains now.
right.
The Trump has sort of like overwhelmed everything for a good reason too. But underneath all that turmoil, put it this way: I know Hunter Biden personally,
Really?
and
Sorry to hear that.
Have
You
you,
know
have you
how-
guys hung out in
you-
any hotel rooms together? Or?
You know how close he is.
Don't say
how
that too
close he
loud
is
around
to
your
his
computer.
You know how close he is to his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a whisper away from telling Joe to give us the ability to use credit cards in our business.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right now we
still
can't
dealing with
use we can't bank our money yet. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
Yeah.
And-
no,
and
it's
that's
still
not fair.
federally illegal.
You know?
no.
Yeah.
So let's get us scheduled from schedule 1 to schedule 2.
Yeah, it's so
And-
silly how like it's like the closer we get, they're still holding on to this idea. So it's like, okay, now
Well-
we'll legalize it. We just can't. You won't be able to
Yeah.
get to
No,
banks.
Yeah.
you know why? I'll tell you why. Very simple. Foreign
Interest.
contracts.
Yeah.
They made a deal with foreign countries all around the world to
Yeah,
outlaw
to keep it
outlaw
Schedule 1.
marijuana in cannabis, and in return they get hundreds of millions of dollars every year. They get paid.
Right.
Yeah,
That-
foreign contacts.
that's what they don't want to give up.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to do. You see, as long as it's illegal, the United States has to pay them. And the minute it becomes legal, then the United States won't pay them, and then we'll be fine. You know.
Yeah, then we pull out of compacts, and then we're saving tax money, and B,
Yeah.
we're giving the people what they want. Like,
Yeah.
this is just another example of politicians don't do the will of the people; they do the will of
Hey.
the lobbyists.
Exactly.
Do you realize how many jobs the marijuana industry has created?
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
I know tons of my friends,
Yeah.
my friends that went from black market to they are now green
Right,
thumbs.
exactly. And the thing is,
And I'm
Tom,
talking jobs, legal, paychecks, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
One of my buddies actually lived in Colorado when it was still medicinal.
uh-huh.
He went out there and didn't even grow weed. He started a company where he went and taught people, and he maintained the crops of other people's crops and taught
Right.
them how to do that, and built a whole business doing that. Employed up to 300 people across the state at one point.
Right.
Never grew a plant himself.
Yeah, I mean, Tom,
And-
it's obviously $1 billion industry, even in the black market, right? All we're doing is just turning it from the black market to legal paychecks, instead of getting
Yeah.
paid,
No, we're not changing anything in the black market. Black market has its own market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're part of it. The trouble is we don't see the value. We go to the small guys go to jail.
Yeah.
The rich guys get richer.
Yeah.
They don't
Right,
even
amen.
see that.
That's
that much.
in New Jersey for to have a marijuana dispensary. It's like a $2 million application fee and non-refundable.
Let's try to
So
make
like
it as hard.
they're making
In
that
other
just
words-
for their rich friends.
Yeah.
In other words, they don't give them out. They don't give them
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah.
they do it. Okay, guys, I gotta
Yeah.
go.
Hey, Tommy, it was such a pleasure.
Tommy,
Thank you so much.
very much.
I appreciate this so much, man. And yeah, man, thank you so much, man. Hopefully we can maybe chat again sometime.
Thanks for
soon,
being Inside Manny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thanks for coming
I like
inside of
not-
Manny. I appreciate it.
I like not being the only guy in here.
Hey, fuck off.